All right, so we're using Tacview. Tacview was obviously one of the sponsors of the event. The winners got a Tacview license. Very, very kind of them. So here's what the data is. We've got Falco in red, Ace in blue, or Sungho. Here's heading, track, true airspeed, calibrated airspeed, Mach, altitude, AOA, G, turn rate information, ground speed, AGL. It's over the Nellis ranges, or actually Nellis itself. So it's a couple thousand feet MSL for AGL. I think it was a 2,000 foot floor as well. And here's the data for both sides. Also, you've got the cards, Falco, Ace, calibrated airspeed, above sea level, altitude, and then their range from each other, 407 feet. And then you'll also see G and turn rate information pop up when they start moving. The sets themselves, neutral merge, 407 feet, so kind of close aboard. We'll play and stop as we see stuff. So hitting the merge here, Sungho turns across Falco's tail. Falco initially turns with him and then actually reverses the direction of turn to start a one circle flow, which is actually kind of a BFM error because the separation, one circle fight, you don't want to get this far apart. If Sungho recognizes this and squares the corner, he's actually going to be in a winning position. But Sungho does not. Instead, Sungho reverses his own direction of turn, and the distance bills out to 1.3 miles. We'll switch to the vertical view because what you can see is Falco does this really nice kind of high yo-yo as Sungho's coming around, and that causes basically an offensive setup for Falco, which is really interesting of why Sungho did it. He talks about it later. The reason he actually did this was because he was trying to build separation to force another head-on pass so he can better shape the merge. But all it really does is create a defensive perch set. So you can see here, he's running away, building up a whole bunch of airspeed, 540 knots, and now he's going to start turning 8.5 degrees per second, 4.5 Gs. Falco's just driving. He's just driving. It's about to be a offensive set. But Falco does not do a turn circle entry per se. He kind of just pure pursuits Sungho trying to get the shot because that's what Falco wants to do, is try to get that shot. But what's interesting here is as he comes over the top, you can see Falco's got an energy advantage. He's at 9,770 feet, so 3,000 feet above Sungho, and they force this merge as kind of a low to high, or a high to low, depending on which way you look at it. And Falco is now in a good position just to come over the top. He probably should drive out a little bit more, but it's not terrible. So a BFM error kind of for Sungho, and these are valid hits right here. So he comes over the top, and he's offensive. And what's interesting right here is as Sungho is trying to also come over the top, Falco is maintaining energy, 440 knots. He's pulling 7 Gs, and their turn rates are very similar. So the AI is doing a great job of just maintaining energy. So Sungho reverses, realizing that this is a single circle vertical fight, so one circle. And he's in a good position here because if he caches his energy with Falco doing 400 knots, it's a good chance he might end up in a slightly offensive position, which he does. So right here, fleeting snapshot, I think he does get a shot here. And then kind of a late reversal to get back in the control zone here, which will force a vertical overshoot down, which Falco immediately capitalizes on. So Falco does what Sungho should have done the first time. And then right here, Sungho is kind of driving to regain his energy versus matching nose position. And what that'll cause is Falco to just saddle up behind him. So he transitions here to start turning away, which just gives Falco a big juicy target. And now he decides, so he starts turning left and then he turns, goes back to the vertical to match, but then it's too late. Falco is now saddled up, and all he had to do was get the pipper on. There's no in plane, in range, and lead or anything like that. It's just get the pipper on and shoot, and Falco's just riding around. And the over-the-top gunshot is probably one of the easiest you can make because it's a vertical overshoot. If you get too much closure, you can just go over the top and there's nothing the other guy can really do about it. And that's the end of that one. So win for Falco. Let's see what Sungho had to say in the debrief and kind of what he wants to change for round 2.
So Mover, what I'm going to do is, I think going for head-on is pointless. So I'm going to go straight and have some distance and try to re-merge. And hoping to see him bleeding his energy and going up and doing some classical stuff. And if that's not working, I should take the ground to my favor.
I am interested to see how this works.
Yeah, right. Wow, this Falco is amazing.
So you can see at the merge here, Sungho kind of blows through the merge. He's descending. Meanwhile, Falco does the same kind of high yo-yo quarter plane around. He is building separation, trying to turn. This is a split S, as Falco is just here to pure pursuit. And they meet head on. Falco, I think, gets a couple shots here. I'm not sure how valid they were, but a couple fleeting shots. And then as they turn, now Sungho, again, second merge, is going vertical. Falco does a good job here. Instead of meeting him pure vertical, he kind of barber poles around as Sungho is zooming up. So Sungho comes back around, goes to the low 6 Sungho goes to low 6. Falco comes over the top, and he might have some shots here. He does. And over the top, kind of the same situation we saw in the last one where it's that overshoot and he turns instead of going for the pure vertical to try to force another merge. But at this point, Falco is pretty much offensive. So he's just going to follow him around over the top. And now for the vertical overshoot, couple shots there. Not a whole lot Sungho can do because Falco's just riding around. But Sungho manages to escape that. So surprisingly, Falco doesn't get the shot. And Falco's not really doing a good job of going to lag here and doing lag BFM. Remember, this is AI, so it's mostly self-taught. They don't know the basic principles or anything like that. But Falco is basically using potential energy while Sungho is gaining a whole lot of angles, which is keeping Falco kind of trapped in lag back here as Sungho goes over the top. But as you can see here, that's not going to really work out well for him because even though he's building range, Falco is just trying to keep up. Now, granted, because of the airspeed disparity, Falco's struggling right here. I mean, the range is opening up. Sungho is getting away, and he's doing what he talked about as kind of boom and zoom tactics from World War II, which in a 4th gen fighter wouldn't really work all that well, just because missiles. I mean, you do this, you're exposing yourself. But he is getting away, and he's climbing up, doing a good job of managing his energy. He's already opened up the range to a mile, which will now force another merge. So he went from defensive to neutral, or at least about to force a neutral merge. So he's still defensive, but assuming Falco can't hang with this, he should be able to hold on. But he goes all the way up to 33,000 feet. Meanwhile, Falco, his nose is falling off, so the Falco can't get the shot because he can't get his nose around because he's at 70 knots. He can't get his airspeed. So Sungho's done a really good job of managing his energy and forcing kind of a slower Falco. And here's Falco's falling off the top. So right now, Sungho is in a better position because he's got 3,000 feet of altitude, which altitude then equals turning room. And but Falco's just hanging on. Now Falco's built up his energy again. Sungho's going to do the exact same thing again, try to get real slow. He's down to 100 knots, 35,000 feet. I mean, 90 knots, just hanging it on the blades here. 70 knots. Meanwhile, Falco's kind of learned from that, although, not really learning, but has kept his energy up and is doing a great job of maintaining a higher energy state as they get their nose around. And then Sungho's almost in a departure from control flight here. But you can see now Falco's got nose on, bullets, and that is the end of that fight. So different tactics. That's why it was interesting to kind of put a gamer in this, because fighter pilot, we'll do what we know. We do solid BFM tactics and try, the stuff that we're taught, versus you get a gamer that's going to try to think outside the container and do different things. A little bit of non-standard thinking. He tried it, it didn't work, and now he's going to see what happens in the next round. Madison, Heron, what are y'all thinking so far from the Falco camp?
A little bit scared there. Never seen high altitude tactics out of Falco.
Yeah, he almost ran him out of energy.
Yeah, he might be onto something there.
So once again, Sungho goes straight ahead and kind of starts diving to the deck while Falco is up there at 15,000 feet with a huge altitude advantage. They've extended the range, though. Now it's a 4-mile set, so it's going to end up becoming a neutral setup here once again. So Sungho is basically merge shaping. He's basically going, I don't like the way we're setting up, so I'm going to extend, get out of the way, and try again and try to get this low to high merge, because he's maybe banking on the fact that Falco might struggle there at the floor of 2,000 feet. But here comes Falco over the top, fleeting shot with the overshoot, but he can't go over the top, so he has to flatten it out so as not to go through the floor, which gives Sungho the ability to kind of go up and over, use some of that energy that he had with the speed. However, Falco's just managing his energy so much better, and then gets a little bit, maybe a couple hits over the top. But again, the vertical overshoot coming so close to the floor. And then they start their 2-circle fight. But look at how Falco squares that corner. Just amazing. I mean, the aircraft control is just eye-watering as far as maintaining his parameters and stuff. But Sungho again tries to extend, tries to get away from the fight, going back to that. He's at 5,000 feet, so not really a threat. And he's just trying to drive and climb, extending the fight. Extending the fight's okay. We'll see in later rounds how that actually is going to hurt him. But you can see Falco is using a little bit of lead geometry here, putting his nose out in front to collapse that range, as there's a slight turn there. But now we're going back to the Bozosphere, 26,000 feet. Non-conventional tactics. 30,000 feet. Still climbing up. Airspeed's decaying. Falco's maintaining his airspeed fairly well, while Sungho's kind of bleeding off as the higher he gets. And then that range is just collapsing down. So now he's inside of 3,000 feet. He could take the shot. I don't think he's got the energy to get his nose around. And then Sungho's down to 39 knots. But he's collapsed. He's at 1,500 feet. The problem is it's going to be a vertical overshoot here for Falco. He's not going to have the energy to get his nose on while Sungho basically departs controlled flight. And just as he's doing, that's a nice little jink there from Sungho. And that's it. That's the end of that. Just gets him over the top. So we can see that the tactics don't really work that well. Climbing up to the bozosphere there.
Wow. So it seems like, it feels like he is finding, when it comes to two-circle fight, he is finding its best turn rate as possible. So, and pure, I don't know, I'm going to try two-circle fight or one-circle fight, like classical BFM way. But it's going to go for head-on, I guess. So even in the two-circle fight, I don't think I can maintain optimum turn rate better than the Falco does. So that's why I changed the tactic a little bit. Biting. If he bites for the turn and burn style, then I would go for energy, and that was my plan. And it worked against the lesser version of Falco, but it didn't work against this one. I'm shocked. So.
So initially here, Sungho turns across his tail, 350 knots, trying to set a two-circle flow. Falco does not allow that, and instead pushes for a one-circle going uphill, which Sungho gets the angles and is now going to force a neutral merge here. Very tough against Falco, because Falco has the ability to shoot you in the face. I mean, just with deadly proficiency. But Sungho gets over the top, manages to take some hits as Falco shoots him in the face, but he doesn't die, and that's the important thing, because he gets through the this first merge here. So that'll force an overshoot. Sungho will now take it vertically into a one-circle flow. Get over the top, and now he's in an offensive position. So I think he gets a couple hits there, but Falco reverses. And you can see Falco is now back in kind of an offensive position, but Sungho, 260 knots, has a ton more energy to go over the top versus Falco at 190 knots. So that'll kind of force Falco to overshoot to extend to get his energy, and now Sungho can reshape this merge vertically. He's trying to set a two-circle fight. I think he recognizes this two-circle and starts trying to fight his best two-circle game plan here when he recognizes, hey, I'm in a two-circle fight. But you can see turn rate-wise, Sungho's winning, 18 degrees per second, so he's going around the circle a lot better versus Falco only at 15 degrees. So he's got about 2 degrees per second on him around the corner. So you can see he's using the vertical, trying to keep his turn rate up, while Falco is using God's G over the top. And they're still, even though it's vertical, it's a two-circle flow. And that allows Sungho to come back around, still winning the turn rate battle, which is what you want to do when you're in a two-circle fight. He's starting to push to the offensive, but see, Falco tightens down. So Falco allows this to happen over the top, and then as he uses God's G, tightens down to get that higher turn rate. He was faster to 18 degrees per second than Sungho, which takes away some of the angles. So Sungho flushes out over the top. Still, though, he's doing a good job of putting pressure on Falco, following him around. This is a fairly offensive position at 3,000 feet. You can see here this vertical fight as he comes over the top. Again, they're fairly evenly matched in turn rate because Falco is using God's G and square in the corner, but Sungho is doing a great job of managing his energy, 247 knots, still maintaining that 18 degrees per second, which will give him the ability to do the exact same thing and try to gain some angles. So you can see here, he squares the corner, lets the airspeed bleed down, and while Falco's kind of bled down his energy, Sungho is using God's G now to follow him around. So now he's almost offensive. You can see they've got offset turn circles. So if they continue this, Sungho is actually going to come around and be in an offensive position. He's got higher airspeed and about the same turn rate advantage. He's pulling more G at the bottom here. It just depends on what Falco does, whether he allows them to be offset or continues. But Falco, seeing that, tightens down to try to take away the angles from Sungho. But Sungho going over the top, God's G, very good position right here. Falco just doesn't have the energy to square the corner. Sungho's done a good job of managing his energy, and now it's just a matter of pepper mech. So he doesn't quite get it there, although he was very, very close. He did get some good shots, but he's still 1,200 feet. He's 204 knots. So he's a little bit slower while Falco is going away, but he's got a better turn rate, and he's got an altitude advantage. So he's got a potential energy advantage here, and he is pushing the fight. So he'll do a vertical overshoot here in the lower and come back over the top. And now it's just pepper on, pepper on. Now it's just a matter of gun mech. And he just can't quite get it on. I know he talked about some lag stuff, but he can't quite get that. But that was a really good opportunity there to get hits. But again, he's managing his energy fairly well. Falco's trying to build up his energy, so 300 knots, trying to get a better rate to try to take that away as he comes back over the top. But Sungho, 17 degrees per second, 268 knots. He's just doing a phenomenal job of just maintaining his energy. And then we'll be right back in the same situation over the top here. And that's it. Sungho won. Sungho became the first human in AI history, I don't know about AI history, but in Falco history to beat AI. He's the first one to do it. No real fighter pilot's done it. Heron Systems has said no one else has actually beaten Falco until this match. So Sungho made history right here, and he just did a phenomenal job of maintaining his energy, being patient, and he used more traditional BFM tactics in this one than in previous ones, and he learned from kind of what Falco was capable of to finally win.
Pull for the shot, please, 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 please.
Oh, yes!
Yes!
Look at that!
Yes! Yes! Finally! Wow! Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just.
Good job. Yeah.
Is that the first?
Oh, thank you very much. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, I'm satisfied. Oh my god. I see if I can repeat this thing against this Falco. If this is not the best of 5, hopefully. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm just too. I'm so hyped up. I'm sorry, guys.
Has anyone ever killed Falco? Is this a first?
I think that's a world first.
Yeah, I think this is.
That's a first.
Yeah, first human to beat Falco.
Oh my god! But I don't know if I can repeat this on the next fight. I'll see if I can reset the fight first.
That was impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it didn't work against the lesser Falco because he was running away, and because the Falco didn't really have experience getting behind. I mean, I'm pretty sure Falco, because he has aggressive nature. I don't think he experienced much defensive maneuver, so he didn't know what to do.
So once again, Sungho tries to take it 2-circle across the tail. Falco starts to go, but we'll see what they do in the vertical here. Falco goes up and then tries to set a 1-circle flow to try to match. So Falco seems to like the 1-circle fight, and I think that's because he can get his nose around and try to shoot him in the face, so to speak. But again, Sungho's winning this right now, 17 degrees per second, because Falco did that little hesitation. That gives Sungho angles, because all he did was turn across his tail and look and see what he's got. He's going up 5 and 7. They're matching G's, but Sungho's got a better turn rate at this point. And you can see that there. So he's starting to do slightly better job, while Falco is trying to cash in and use the vertical here. Sungho's going downhill. He's trying to merge shape. So that'll force a neutral merge, and what Falco seems to be doing is trying to build a little bit of vertical turning room so he can come over the top and just put the pepper on and do as a face shot, essentially, to try to, because that's all the AI cares about. Doesn't care about follow on BFM, just cares about getting that first shot. But that forces an overshoot with Sungho over the top now. And Sungho 23 degrees per second over the top at 12. So he's actually in a much better position, although Falco's got a higher airspeed. So right there, fleeting option to get a shot. I don't remember if he got. If he did, he swept the bullets through. Not a stable gunshot or anything, but a little slow to reverse. Not bad though, not bad. But right now he's offensive. He has put himself back into an offensive position, 274 knots. So if he can just square that corner, he might be able to actually get bullets on, but he's getting a little close in the range. So might not have the range to square the corner and get the shot. But he'll do an overshoot low, which is fine, and he's got his airspeed up, so he can still go over the top to follow him around. But Falco does an impressive job here of reversing, forcing that single circle, and at 187 knots, his turn radius is now collapsing down because he's just basically trying to get his nose on as quickly as possible and flush Sungho out front. So Falco does a good job of neutralizing it right here. And then that's a pretty good position for Falco. 169 knots, just slightly lower, but Sungho is cashing his energy in to try to keep Falco's nose off of him, which it works. Falco doesn't necessarily have the energy. His nose is kind of trapped in lag here, just doesn't have the energy to get his nose around. Even though he's slightly offensive, doesn't have the energy to get his nose around here. And so Sungho will be able to come over the top and force it back neutral. Meanwhile, Falco is kind of extending to try to get some energy to come back over the top, which I don't think he's got enough energy to do that. So he'll have to dish out and reverse his turn, which allows Sungho to extend and get his energy back. 284 knots. He's doing a much better job of energy management. Got himself out of a bad situation there. If he could have initially taken those shots, this would be over. But Falco has again shown that energy management is his thing. So really nice, kind of a pirouette here from Falco to match Sungho to keep him from getting those angles. He's just matching everything he does. So that'll force kind of a neutral merge with Sungho over the top, a little lower on the energy. Falco's 370 knots. But Sungho is just trying to use God's G here to get his turn rate up at 20 degrees per second. And I like how Sungho is basically thinking three-dimensional. So now they're actually in a 2-circle vertical fight. 16 degrees per second. Falco is over the top, so he's got God's G helping him over the top, 18 degrees per second. and an altitude advantage as well. So that's putting a lot in Sungho and Falco's favor. What Sungho has is airspeed, and he's using that airspeed to try to come over the top and deny Falco those angles. But you can see here, Falco is trying to square that corner, but the range is collapsing down, and he's not going to be able to get it right here. So they're kind of just stuck in this two-circle fight, which is what you end up seeing with two identical aircraft. Eventually, this will end up at the floor, and both aircraft will just be in this two-circle, game of chicken. But they're doing a good job, both of them, energy management-wise. Falco's basically just matching what Sungho does. And Sungho's being really patient, which a lot of people would have tried to cash it in to take that shot, but it's just too rangy at 3,800 feet. So right here, he might, at 217 knots, if he can get a little bit more, he might be able to do it over the top, because again, going up is a much lower risk shot than, going downhill with that vertical overshoot option, but I don't think he can get there. And yeah, he'll just overshoot while Falco is increasing his energy and kind of extending, because his nose is not a threat. So he gets up his airspeed up to 300 knots, which allows Sungho to get some angles back, because he's outrating him initially, until now you see Falco start to pull the G's again. But again, with that higher energy, as soon as Sungho comes around, Falco's going to square the corner, and that's going to put him in a two-circle fight. So you can see here from the vertical view, they're in a two-circle flow and fairly neutral. Just matching each other, and this is inevitably what it ends up being. So Falco, a little bit higher on the airspeed, a little bit lower on the turn rate. Sungho is right where he needs to be, maybe a tad slow, but doing a great job of energy management. But he's higher, so he's got a little bit more potential energy than Falco. So he's really doing a good job of controlling the fight here, and you can see it. You can see it how it's playing out. Sungho's building these angles on Falco as he comes around the corner, because he's just going around the circle a little bit faster. Not a lot, just a tad bit faster. So you can see here, Sungho has really taken a bite out of all these angles. 3,800 feet now, the range has collapsed down. 350 knots, 350 knots. Sungho is doing a phenomenal job right now of winning this fight. And that's two-circle. He wanted to bring it two-circle, and he finally got it where he wanted it, because Falco, he can only operate within the limits of the aircraft. And right now, Sungho is doing a great job of keeping that turn rate up. Even though Falco is matching it at 19 degrees per second each, Sungho's got more energy. And it's all about patience, and Sungho is doing a great job with patience. The problem is there's a timer limit. And these fights are not quick. So you can see here, again, we've collapsed the range down to 1,500 feet. You don't want the range to get this close, especially in this two-circle fight. You kind of let it ease off to let the offset turn circle geometry help you out. 19 degrees per second versus 17. Falco wants the range to collapse down. Now that he's starting to get defensive, having closer range helps him, because he can get that nose trapped in lag, versus Sungho, he kind of wants a little bit more range between him, so he's got more turning room back here in the control zone. So he's letting that range build back up. He's doing really well with that by maintaining his airspeed. And then Falco is now in a situation where he's allowed Sungho to get that separation back. So right now, at 327 knots, he might be able to square the corner and actually get a shot. It would be a high aspect, very rangy gunshot, but he might be able to do it if he cashed everything in right now, especially at 8,000 feet with that vertical advantage. But instead, he'll be patient, which is a smart move. It's the conservative move. But Falco, on the other hand, is starting to use Gajji and has gotten above him. So Sungho maybe got impatient by going downhill, but kind of didn't commit to it. So what that's going to allow Falco to do is take away every angle that Sungho has gotten from him. So right here, he cashes it all in. He's already at 20 degrees per second. The problem, though, is he's not going to have enough room for the floor. He's only 1,700 feet above the floor trying to cash it in, and Falco's tightening down with 430 knots. Now, if he goes idle, he can basically neutralize this fight here. Yeah, he'll get right down to the floor, which won't work for him. Now he's got to do a floor transition, floor save. He's only 100 feet above the floor. Falco doesn't tighten down. Interesting, not that much. So he's actually allowing Sungho to get offensive, which is a little puzzling. And still rating around at 19 degrees per second. He's 368 knots, 420 knots. He's outrating him, but Falco's got more energy. So right here, inside of 2,500 feet, 365 knots, he's got him. I mean, just a little more pull, he's got him. Right there, he's got him. This fight could easily be over right now. Now it's a matter of gun mech and precision, and that is not an easy thing to do. People think, oh, it's so easy, you gun him. It's the hardest part. So, and this is where Falco has the advantage because his ability to aim beats human fine motor skills. So he's winning. He's won. But he can't get his nose on right there. And he did say that he had latency issues, which Sungho actually was trying to stream this at the same time he was doing this. So that could have been his latency issues. I don't know. We asked him not to stream it. I'm sure that didn't help the connection, but he might, I mean, if he hadn't been streaming, maybe he could have gotten a shot. But you see here now, he's going to collapse the range down and not be able to quite get the nose. And then Falco's just maintaining that 20 degrees per second here, rating around at the floor, and it's going to trap Sungho in lag. So offset turn circles. Don't know why Falco decided to dish it out here. Maybe it was a floor save. Maybe it was a floor transition. I don't know. But this opens it up. To me, this is a BFM error, which gives Sungho the ability to make up for not having that gun mech. So right now, Sungho should pipper on and shoot. To me, logical conclusion is there. But this is a bit of a jank, which is pretty cool to see out of Falco. And just follow him around. Now, there's a hit there. There's a hit. There's another hit, and it's now he has to control his closure. So he had those hits. Now it's about controlling range angles and closure. And the problem is he's too close. He's inside of 1,000 feet, and he's way too fast. 220 knot, 4 knot difference. He has got a huge overshoot problem, and that's going to force an overshoot and a reversal. And now Falco is where he needs to be. So it's okay. You take those gunshots, you take those shots, but if you're going to miss, you got to have closure under control. You got to sit back there in the control zone and control closure. Otherwise, you'll shoot out in front, and that's essentially what happens here. And then the timer is going to run out. This is when it becomes a draw, although it is credited as a Falco win because Falco had more hits on him. So logical conclusion, I think better gun mech. Sungho did a great job. I think Sungho probably could have won this round, but it would have been interesting to see. But we only did 5 rounds, and that's the result. So technically it was 4-1, but really 3-2 because I think Sungho really won this round.
So what he was doing was, he was very clever. He was trying to match his speed with me so he doesn't get in trouble with the angle. So he didn't want me to have angular advantages. So which was very nice, and which was also his mistake. I played altitude to gain relatively higher speed. I'm sorry, relatively higher turn rate than him, and then we went into the ground. It was very close, almost 2,100 feet, and then I initiated high yo-yo, squeezing my turn radius so I can have brief gunshot on him. But my gunner was terrible and I missed the shot. So, but he got, at that moment he lost most of his angle. So, I could get his 6. But, the fuel ran out. It seems like the fuel ran out. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Ran out of time. Can you see his parameters in your airplane? Could you see his speed and altitude? Or were you just guessing?
Yeah, I'm using 2 things. First of all, I can see his energy. It's written on the left side of his airplane, and the second is I'm guessing my line of sight rate to see his actual energy, actual potential of him.
So you've got all the data, just like he's got all your data.
True. It was a good fight. Thanks for giving me an opportunity.
Yeah, man.
I really wanted to fight with this AI. And I'm happy with the result.
All right, and that is it for the AI versus gamer. Did it go the way you thought, or were you surprised by the results? I was surprised. Sungho did a great job. He is awesome. I mean, obviously he's won 2 tournaments, which that's not a small task, but Falco is just, I mean, it's a really good AI, and it's got really precise aircraft control and gun mech and stuff like that. So for Sungho to come out having never fought Falco before and to end up getting the first kill on the AI, I think is really awesome. And it just shows you how sometimes thinking outside the container actually can produce good results. But at the end of the day, the fundamentals is what got Sungho in the winning position, not doing the bozosphere stuff or extending or whatever, but just sticking to fundamentals and getting the correct airspeeds and fighting good 1-circle and 2-circle fight, lag BFM, stuff like that. So I want to thank everyone that participated in the Folds of Honor Fight for Honor 2020, and especially thank Heron Systems for setting this fight up and for being a big donor in the tournament and for Folds of Honor itself. And really great time, great fun. Thank you and congratulations to Sungho for winning the tournament and doing so well. I mean, I never expected it to be quite the fight that it was, but it was very entertaining and very fun to watch, and very good stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Support Folds of Honor, and I'll see you next time.